Howdy. Welcome back to One Rental at a Time. One of the most common comments that we get is whenever we make a video or leave a comment in a thread about being landlords or retiring early using rentals, go get a job. Or being a landlord isn't a job. Well, my immediate knee-jerk response is, no crap. That's the whole point. So Matt, the lumberjack, clean it up because we're on Zuber's channel.
Yes, exactly.
But, give us your edited version of how you respond to that and what you actually think the person means when they say it.
So I'll reverse that on you. I think what it means is that they don't understand money and how the world works. I think is the very first thing. It really shows me that you're largely pretty ignorant, and that you don't understand how the world around you works. And sadly, that means that you're going to work the rest of your life. I think that where people don't understand it, and I think bridging the gap is, it is absolutely talk to any new investor and ask them how easy it is to be an investor. The first 5 years, ask them, hey, how awesome was that? How much fun did you have in the first 5 years? They're just like, man, it was awful. Like there was an adventure and it was fun to learn stuff, but some of those lessons can be pretty expensive. And so when someone tells me to, get a job, I'm more than happy to have them watch what I do on a daily basis. The idea is it's different because we don't work for somebody else, but in some ways we kind of do. We kind of work for our tenants. If they have an issue, if they have a problem, we need to get it remedied. And if it's an emergency, we need to get it remedied quickly. So as you have more and more units, it's more and more of your time that it takes up or staff that you have to hire. So as an example, this morning, I've already done 6 phone calls on this is the problem, and then trying to figure out the problem, and then trying to call a contractor or, hey, can we do this in-house? Is this something we do ourselves? So I think just the definition, I think you're right. The definition of job is an issue, but also it's just ignorance about money and how the system works.
I would go to when a person says get a job, to be a landlord. First, I don't care what they say. And I love every negative comment on my channel because a comment, positive or negative, is a comment on your channel. And it helps your channel grow to get this information out to the people who actually are going to do something positive with it. But when they say get a job, I used to think, do you mean like the job I had when I saved all the money for that first down payment? Right, the 2 years to save the down payment to buy a duplex that cost less than a single family house when most people are going to go buy that single family house. And in the market I was in, most single family houses were 350, 375, and I purchased my first duplex for right around 300. So it was less money to reduce my housing expense so that I could save more money from house hacking and from my job for the next 2 years. And like you said, those first 5 years suck. It took 10 years to reach financial freedom and make work completely optional. So for that 10 years, I had a job and I made a job out of investing. So real estate investing is not passive. For some people, real estate in ownership like you is a massive portfolio that you self-manage your rehabs on, and it is not very passive as you stabilize. As you get your systems in place, it'll be more and more passive as you go on. For me, the goal wasn't a big portfolio. It was the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. So I only have 17 rental units right now, and I'm house hacking the 18th. So it takes about 2 hours a month to self-manage this, and it's not a lot of work. I do tend to do some things myself because got to do something. Might as well go do that.
Time.
I'd rather be in another country goofing off. But here's what I evolved into thinking. So originally it was, okay, I should get a job. Do you mean like the job I had to get here? Yes. Okay, sure. I don't care what someone like Coastal Beer has to say on YouTube. I'm thinking about what the Fed, the IRS, and the government wants us to do. If the government came out and said, we need employees, so we're not going to tax workers. We're going to do like some states do and not have an employment tax. And then the Fed was going to say, okay, if you work for your money, if you sell your life 1 hour at a time, you don't have to pay any taxes. I might consider working. But since the Fed actively doesn't want you to have a job, they're trying to raise unemployment to curb inflation, right? We raise interest rates as a country to slow companies' ability to borrow cheap money so that they can't grow as much, so that they have to do layoffs and they can't have wage inflation, which causes inflation. Maybe don't do that. The IRS is actively trying to punish you for working. And I say this, and if you take this out of context, just the sentence, it sounds a little confusing. Working for money is the dumbest way to make it. The IRS, the Fed, the government wants and needs innovation. So corporations are taxed at a corporate tax rate, which is lower than earned income tax. We need housing. And yes, people will say, if somebody buys 2 houses, that means somebody else doesn't have one, right? You can run math on that. But if there's somebody like Millennial Mike, who's buying houses in Gary, Indiana, where they have 13,000 vacant units that are crumbling into nothing, and anybody had the same access to those properties as he did, and he buys them and he puts tens of thousands of dollars into fixing them up, and ironically tens of thousands of dollars into buying them in totality. He then puts a rental on the unit on the marketplace that goes out to Section 8.
Right.
That's a house that wouldn't be lived in if he wasn't doing that. And then with your multifamily, your small multifamily, and my small multifamily, how many houses are we taking off the market? How many people who want to own a house are going out to buy a triplex like my house? It's a house and a duplex on one property. So what does a landlord provide? It provides what the IRS, the Fed, and the government wants. That's now what I think. I don't take the time to respond to somebody in the comments. I just put, enjoy being poor. Now get back to work. I need my rent. When they leave the comment of, you're a landlord, go get a real job. Because the whole point of being a landlord is that you don't need a job. We're brainwashed from when we're kids of, when I grow up, I hope I get my dream job. Instead of, when I grow up, I hope I can live my dream life.
Yeah, I mean, I think you go ahead. You want to finish something else? I think really when I look at it, it's also being part of the solution, right? Everybody wants to, hang them high, all those horrible slumlords. Do they have a bunch of vacant units? No, their units are full. And so they serve a purpose. The purpose is you're getting a roof over your head that's usually in horrible condition, never gets fixed. Landlord doesn't pay attention to you, all of those things. But largely speaking, it's either A, you're getting it at a great deal, or B, you're overpaying because he's the only guy or she's the only person who's going to take you because your credit sucks, because you got more baggage than the queen, and no one wants to do business with you. And so slumlords do actually serve a purpose. For me, I don't like slumlords. I will never be one. We're always trying to curate an experience. The worst unit you're ever going to find with me is clean, safe, and dated. That's the worst unit you're ever going to find. But we create our own feeding system because we get clean, safe, and dated. And if you want to take personal responsibility and move up the ladder, we have the next unit available for you too. We have people that have started in clean, safe, and dated, and then gone up to, clean, safe, and updated, and then gone up to clean, safe, and completely upgraded. And now they're high end, top of that market. And they're saying, I might want to stay in this for a few years and then I'm going to buy a house. We have people work through our system and get essentially upgraded into the different levels of units based on their income, based on their ability to pay, based on their credit score improving, all of those things. So I think that very often all landlords are thrown into the same bucket. If you think you're going to have an easier time renting from a hedge fund with a management company instead of a small mom and pop landlord like me or Dion or Mike or Millennial Mike, you got another thing coming. Enjoy it, because you can even watch the Crash Bros when they moved out of their apartments. You can even watch and say and show exactly that they got bills for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 of damage. Now, did they damage the apartment? Maybe, probably not. But did they? Maybe. Again, probably not. But at the end of the day, a corporate company is going to charge you for every nick and every scratch because they can, and they know that your option is to sue them, and they already have attorneys in house. So I think before we just cast the same light on all landlords being the same, I think there are very much differences, but I think it's important to realize that slumlords actually do serve a purpose.
Thing I'll wrap this video up with. When we get the hate comments, I want people to understand that they're leaving a hate comment about landlords on a channel, any one of our channels, where we're taking time every single week to try to get people on the property ladder, to try to make people own real estate, to have a better financial future. That's who you want to attack? How about we go and take some time to leave the comments on the Crash Bros channel, where for the last decade, they've been screaming about a crash coming that is stopping people from buying, and they've now missed out on record appreciation, record rent increases. Not only, well, they haven't missed out on that. They've missed out on receiving that. They've definitely been involved in that.
Yes.
Matt, if people want to reach out with questions, how can they find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram. We're doing a jail right now. We're rehabbing a jail. So I'm pretty sure I didn't steal that from another potential home buyer.
Until our next video, thanks for coming to my Matt and Dion talk.